today we have another video with Jennifer and myself. As I have mentioned before, these are conversations that we have when we just get together and we just see what comes up. We see what we want to talk about, and then we bring in more information for you to consider for your journey forward. So like I've always said in these videos, again, not everything may resonate with you with the story that you're creating, the puzzle you're completing for your own life journey, but a lot of things might. So just take those pieces that resonate with you, that help you understand a little bit more, might provide some synchronicity to some information you're receiving, and use that and toss the rest aside. So I hope you enjoy this video today with Jennifer and myself. So what we're going to cover today are a multitude of things. They all kind of link together, but here are some major topics. We're going to talk about the multidimensional body that we are reclaiming, astral travel. We're going to talk about the quickening of energies that are actually happening right now. And I think probably for many of you, I mean, the weeks are flying by. Like literally here we are again on another Thursday, and I don't know how we got here. It's just such a quickening, but also talking about the quickening of energy in general. Also using what Jennifer calls the Creator One energy, which I do clarify for you in the video, and she speaks to, and how we can use that Creator energy that is in all of us, and really coming into the purity of that. We're also going to talk about our Earth connection and migration and travel, and how all of that is purposeful and what that can actually mean. Because remember, one thing that I have said for some time now is our human 3D activities that we see and do and may not understand fully, they're actually the vehicle for the spiritual part to happen. So you can actually draw this out ultimately, is if you're able to see what that human activity is that you're doing, it actually aligns directly with the spiritual understanding. It's not a direct one-to-one correspondence of the understanding though. So what's happening in the human journey is the vehicle for the spiritual to take place on a different plane. So it has I just heard the words a higher meaning. Okay, it has a higher meaning. And those of us like myself, I can actually interpret those and understand what that means. And that's what I do a lot of in these videos that we present to you and that the Light Keepers and I present to you. So hopefully you'll enjoy this conversation again with Jennifer and myself. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Carolyn Zaiser. I'm a distance energy healer, I'm a channel, and I'm a spiritual awakening mentor. And I offer these channels from the Light Keepers and from Jennifer and myself, the conversations that we have to help you along your ascension and awakening and your life journey. So for those of you who are new, if you like channeled poems of support from the angelics, I offer that each week from the Light Keepers. On Fridays, I send those out, and you can access that by clicking on the link below in the description box of this video. It'll take you to a free video that I offer on how to create flow in your body for health and wellness, which is so important during this journey. Needless to say, that then takes you to my email list, where you'll get a channeled message each week from the Light Keepers to help you forward. So those typically get sent out on Fridays. So join me there too for more free content. Also, if you will like, share, and subscribe, I would really appreciate it, because what it does is it helps YouTube kind of recognize me more and be able to get these messages out to more people who are going through the spiritual awakening journey. Because I'll tell you one thing right now, I have sensed this and I have felt this, but we have this whole other wave of people showing up now, right? It's kind of what, I don't know if I'd call this second wave or what, but it's coming out of this, these last year or two. And so those of us who have kind of experienced this previously moved into some more of our, I'll just say, higher frequency, higher vibration, leading the way, chopping down the forest, the jungle. Now the others are starting to come behind us and clipping out the vines that have started to grow in between, right? So the next group showing up. So liking, sharing, and subscribing is really important in order for me to be able to get this information out to others who might be able to utilize it in their awakening and ascension journey, which ultimately, as we know, affects the collective. So thank you so much for doing that for me today. So just a couple kind of current comments for you now before I send you over to the video. They're giving me the quickening of the energy back into my awareness. So many of you have noticed that time seems to be very much, quickening. And in that sense, what we're going to be coming into here in the next weeks, and they're showing me up to the equinox. So the equinox is on, I believe it's the 21st of March, yes. Okay, what they're giving me, and I'm just giving you a little kind of short energy update. They're giving me a quickening up into that point, and then they're showing a launching off. Like there is going to be a lot of, they're showing, okay, they just said explosiveness with energy. Like they're showing, remember, everything I see is in terms of energy, and then they interpret it for me. But energetically speaking, they're showing a launching off. Like, they're, okay, they're talking about launching off. It's, you remember when I spoke to, and I've said this a few times, how I saw spring, like the energy just increasing. Well, what they're showing is the equinox is okay, we reach a plateau, but we launch off again into, and so what that really means ultimately in our journey is we're going to see the quickening of the energy, the quickening of activities, the shift and change happening faster, more of what I'll call the extremes, and it feels, oh, I see, again, I just got the word flashpoint. So we're going to see more intensity is what I'm just going to tell you in the collective, which could translate to intensity in your journey too, and in choices that you make. And yet at the same time, it's going to offer you flow is what I'm getting. It's like a launching off. It's like a slingshot they're showing, and rising and it depends on where we're at in your journey, okay? Because a lot of us are still going through the stuff, right? But there are many of us who have reached this, okay, they just said this altitude of where you're, okay, they're trying to give a metaphor of, you know how you, if you're, is it flight? It'd be flight as you go past the atmosphere. It's like a rocket. As you go past the atmosphere thing, then you just start to float, right? You go past, I don't know my atmospheric names, but as you break past that on Earth, then you start to just kind of float. So what I'm getting is for many of us, we're coming through the, oh, they said you have your afterburners on. Okay, well, that makes sense. Yep, okay, so afterburner, that's what they're talking about. So they're showing that, it's actually showing more like when a jet, okay, this is what they're trying to tell me. I'm so sorry about this. Sometimes it's just hard to see or to interpret what they're showing me. And so what they're showing is when they reach past, I want to say it's the sound barrier, but a certain atmospheric level where then the afterburners thrust out you into the space where you're floating above, okay? Remember, these are metaphors, but floating above, and you're looking below and seeing what's happening. So this is kind of first wavers, those who, and you feel it and you know it, okay? You're actually, again, now they're showing the holding up. So those of you who are in this space, holding up, they're showing the tent, like the tent we've talked before, the kind of that grid, the new grid helping, oh wow, this is getting almost a full channel in itself. Creating that grid, the new grid. There's a new one that I've spoken to previously that's being built, but it's being built by us, okay? Being rebuilt. And it's gold, it's yellow, it's white, it's beautiful. And the old one is crumbling, okay? This old way of being, and we're seeing it happen. But we are now, this first wave is trickling into this higher level way of living and being, and moving past what we're going to see is this great growing intensity, okay? And everybody's got to go through this, is what I'm showing, okay? So this is your atmosphere, right? And I wish I knew my names of this. But as you go through, I want to say, is it the sound barrier? I don't know. Some part of the atmospheric level where we have to go through this, the hard stuff, right? And you shake, the plane shakes, and the jet shakes or the rocket shakes, and we go up, and then we have the silence and we have the floating. I'm probably not describing this very well, but that's where we're headed here in March after the equinox is what they're showing me, and the others are going to be coming along. All right, so it kind of depends on where you're at in your awakening journey. I know many of you have launched forward really fast in these last 2 years, comparatively speaking. I just heard playing catch up. Exactly. Okay, but also following along in the heels of, because there's some that are of you that are playing catch up in the sense of going to reach that same level pretty quickly, but there are others of you who are meant to come along to follow along in the timing that you have. It's all purposeful and it's all energetic. Okay, so don't ever think that you're too slow, nothing's happening. You want to be further along. I mean, don't let that concern you, because you're exactly where you need to be. Because what I'm getting is, oh, they just said marshal the forces. So what they're showing me is Many of us need to be in that space to just move along at this steady pace. Others, and we're up there for a reason. So think of it as the collective, okay? We can't all just show up there at once. That would be far too energetic. And, okay, they just said flashpoint again. Yeah, it would just cause, oh, they just said ripples in time and space. Okay, see, this has to be done gradually because this is energetic, all right? It's all about shifting and changing with great patience. So you're where you need to be. I want you to know that. I do want you to know that the equinox we've got on the 21st is a massive shift and change for us. I think we're going to see even more, we're going to see this more in the collective as well, and we're going to feel it in our journey. And it feels, they just said the word stability. Many of us are going to start finding the feeling of great stability as we move past the equinox, and not so much this that we have each day. So I guess, depending on where you feel you're at in the journey, just know that those are potentials coming up for you. And with that, like I said, I could probably do a whole channel on this, but that's just a little tip about moving forward into the rest of March, up through and then after the equinox. And then we'll move into the April energy update pretty soon, actually. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to send you over to Jennifer's and my video. I will wrap up with you at the end, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. All right.
So things can translate into this body fairly quickly sometimes from stuff that's going on in astral planes, or, waking up with something that's different, or even for me, even in my waking state, I've had things occur to me that are almost instant, that are very strange. Like, for instance, I have this thing on my wrist. I probably can't see it there, but it's a raised area about this big across. And this happened while I was just sitting one day, and I saw the whole thing just like pop up, whoop, right under my skin. And I started feeling liquid, like you would get in an IV.
Oh, this is what I just got. Before you said it, I'm like, it's an IV.
Yes. And so they call it a connector. They're calling it a connector, which is something different, maybe that I have in a different areas, whatever, that they use. It's like just on your wrist, right? And they said, so I'm like, what is this? And I said, I can feel that. That feels like an IV. I said, you guys have me hooked up to an IV somewhere, and I can feel it here. And so they didn't really make a big deal out of it, like to change it or to switch it, or why is she feeling it in her human? And, so it stopped. I stopped feeling it after a while, but that is still there. It's still there.
Let me tell you what I'm getting, because it's actually not just about you, it's about us. So this is obvious to people or to you, but as we're living our human journey, there's a part of us that can be in the other realms, or how do I want to explain this? Like, there's an energetic part of us being, okay, they just said being maintained. So, okay, they just said being maintained for the human journey. It's like an agreed upon thing that it helps us move through these. When did you have that intravenous? Was it recent, like in the last few years? It wasn't like
it was like the last year and a half or so. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what they're talking about is how this is more prevalent now for people, because if we feel like things like that are happening, there's actually, they just said an etheric portion of us that actually they can work on and maintain us, which then, they're talking about, okay, it's like an overlay that they then lay on top of us. I mean, they're trying to give a visual of, let me give them.
Well, I feel like the etheric, like the ones that they have access to, like for healing, all kinds of different things can happen. And it eventually translates into matter, into the body in this experience.
Yes.
But sometimes it feels instant, like they're actually touching you right now. And it feels as if they're right there, but you can't see them. I can feel like touching and stuff.
Right.
So there's a couple of different ones that I've noticed. There's one that kind of slowly makes its way in, and then others are like you feel like you're just being touched right here, even though you can't see it.
Yeah. No, it happens. They're saying that is actually, and I wish I could give a better metaphor for it, in that they're trying to give like a paper doll kind of thing. Like, there's the doll, and then you put clothes on. Like, you can pick and choose and clothes, but it's actually more like they're trying to show like an overlay going on top of you. Like they do the work up with the they keep talking like etheric. They're trying to explain it to me and I'm not getting it very well. But then what they do is they bring it down and, okay, it's like it melds into place, like it comes in and goes on top of us and then melds into us, the shift and change that they make. But so that they were doing an intravenous on you. I just got the word crystalline associated with that as well.
Crystalline. Like the crystalline light bodies or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were, I do.
Okay. Yeah, there was, it is interesting because I had that experience of having the like crystalline light body activation really come on about 3 years ago. And I started my body got lighter. I started to see, I could see like out in the sun, I could almost look and see through my skin a little bit and see sparkling under my skin. My eyes changed to a different shade. So I experienced that, but then I kind of went back into more of this kind of more, I don't know, it felt like a de-evolution a little bit for me, but I felt like I've experienced a crystalline body already. I have felt it. So.
Yeah. So there's something to do with that, like almost like either a added component to that when you got that intravenous, or when that happens, or when that happened, or like a maintenance kind of thing, if that makes sense, or like a different, like they kind of did this thing of, and I'm just sharing with what I'm getting as best I can. It's like they looked at you and said, oh, wait a minute, we could tweak this.
Yeah.
And it's all stuff this is happening. I mean, essentially.
Oh, I do. I can feel it happening. Sometimes I wonder though, okay, is everybody, does everybody know who they're working? You know what I mean? Sometimes I wonder, everybody's real clear about what's going on here, right? So,
right.
Yes, I know that happens because I have felt it. Now, things that like we were talking about before you started recording here, I know that we were talking about this thing that happened to me while I was sleeping. So stuff like that, I had I'll just go ahead and tell everybody, I guess.
Yeah.
I had my hair pulled up into a bun to sleep. My hair sleep bun that I do every night, right? And I had some pretty, electrically charged, and there was a thunderstorm tornado warning here in my state. And, I kind of had like a bump. I could tell my dream state was very, charged is the only word. And when I woke up the next morning, my bun, it took down my bun, all of my hair in the bun had just like almost melted together into one piece. Like it had been just, I don't know, chemically or electrically.
I'm getting the word fused.
Yeah. So I know our hair is very, it's like used for receptors for communication. It's a conductor, right? But somehow I was in it in such a way that it caused that level of conduction through my hair that my hair actually just fused together. So I have this little, I have this little wedge cut now that's going straight back because I had to completely remove a big, like 18 inches of hair that was in a bun that just decided that it was gonna, so I wake up out of sleep.
Yes.
Thinking, okay, clearly I'm connected to several things going on in other realms, but that's not really something I've wanted to happen.
No,
right?
but invalidating, well, just so they know, I immediately got, when you told me that, I got electrical storm, and that you were in like literal electrical storm. Come to find out, you actually had a real electrical storm outside your window, and you were in one in the astral, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And what's interesting is, and I'm just going to add this part too that we talked about earlier, is I have just so people don't think you're the only one, because I think we're going to find other people have had these things happen. I had a friend who, this is 4 or 5 years ago, who said to me, and I said to you earlier, she's very much a warrior woman and been in a lot of battles, got a lot of masculine in her. She says to me, oh my God, I woke up this morning, and she goes, I have a major chipped tooth. And she says, and I got a bruise on me. And I said to her, I immediately said, oh my God, you were in battle last night. Like you were in battle. And she goes, I know I was. So, I mean, these things actually can show up in our bodies.
Right. Well, I don't know if it's just more because we're more aware of it or what, but I don't remember this kind of stuff happening before I woke up. So I think that, how involved or how much I allow to maybe occur in other, how much multi-locating I'm doing is what I think it is.
Okay,
Right.
they just said to me before you said that, multidimensional. They said, because, okay, this is part of being, okay, the multidimensional us. And what you said was key, is it didn't really happen before you're awakening, because guess what? We're rising in frequency and vibration, and now we're able to move, and we're going to be more conscious of this. Okay. We're able to move in and out to do other work. We know we're doing it already, but we're going to be more consciously aware. And eventually down the road, what we know and we've talked about is we're going to be able to dimensionally travel with this body, consciously knowing it through the various dimensions. So this that's a precursor. It's a very piece of that. Does that resonate with you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It definitely does. I think that, just even the, I do believe I've been doing it the whole time, right? Just like all of us have. But maybe the fact that I become aware of it, I am more able to keep it running, like keep a couple others running, where maybe before I would only do it when Jennifer was asleep, right? I'd make sure Jen was asleep, and then if I wanted to go and do this stuff, I wouldn't necessarily, and then I would come back and when she woke up. Always, right? Where now I think I have multiples running even when I'm awake, and that's what I'm feeling, a lot more activity. Plus the veils are thinner, right?
Yep.
So I think that something's altered when my awareness of my multidimensionality was more prevalent in my human. Although, my son always laughs at me. You've been doing this all along, Mom. I'm like, okay, so. But I wasn't aware of it.
We're going to be more aware. That's exactly it. Boy, we just hit on something big, because this is part of that. Okay, they just said part of the waking up, like when you're higher consciousness, you're able to do the higher consciousness connection, live from that space, and you're also doing the human thing. It's that figure eight that I keep always getting shown into. You can go higher and higher and come back down, and higher and come back down. And then we'll end up being more consciously aware of that. That's a huge part of ascension. So something that I got when you left, we were getting flashes and tastes of what it's like to be multidimensional. So, wow. Yeah. Wow, this is so interesting. I will be interested to see if anybody watching the video has other examples of how this is happening, because they're showing it like, oh gosh, how like you kind of see it happen, and then it see it happen, and then, but it's like instead of like, if you were going to draw this figure eight, how I was talking about that going higher dimensionally and down to the 3D, you would see just part of the figure eight drawn, like, oh, there she is. Oh, she's here now. Oh, she's here, instead of this smooth thing, because it's more like ooh, like flips,
jumping all around. Yeah.
Yes. And then it's going to eventually draw, if you were going to, as this metaphor, it will just draw that figure eight eventually, when we're able to do what we do as we go through ascension and live in and move from one dimension to the next. And they're talking about, this is a great example with the body. Look what happened to your body, your hair, and my son's tooth.
It's really something, because I feel like I think I just maybe need to get a little more organized. I'm not sure, because I think we are, and I think we're working on it at the same time. So getting the body that will work, and then not getting the journey that you're doing, the different journeys that you're on. There's multiple ones, I believe, that are going on at the same time. Not getting getting the right body for the right journey, and then knowing that you bring this back in here, right? So you're out exposing yourself to different things, but it now, you're bringing it back into this experience too. So, I thought that wasn't a desirable thing that happened to me, although my human seems to be fine, my hair wasn't, right? So, let's make sure to figure out how that happened, right? Make sure we didn't like cross our wires somewhere that we didn't want it to, right? So,
can I tell you what I'm seeing? Let me tell you what I'm seeing. Not that this matters, but it might put more of the story together. I just think it's kind of an interesting visual. They're showing you as oh God, I wish I could find a picture of this. Like you have a lightning bolt in one hand.
Uh-huh.
You're a goddess, lightning bolt in one hand. You were doing some battle. You were doing some, you weren't just caught up in the electrical storm, okay? You were, you know what I'm getting? Oh, they just said manipulating it. You were manipulating. Oh, they just said for the higher good. Okay, okay. Electrical storm. Okay, I'm getting bolts of lightning. I don't know where this is going. I'm just going to go though. Bolts of lightning. You are goddess, blonde. You know, look like you, but goddess with this gown and lightning bolt, warrior. I have so many chills. You kind of have a crown too, but you've got it's an interesting visual of a mix of like a Mother Mary light around you, but a warrior goddess kind of visual, but of light with bolts of lightning. They're talking about manipulating energy. You were manipulating the electrical storm, the electrical energy. God, you were actually in it during that night, the actual storm that was at your house, because as we know, the Midwest had a lot of nasty weather that night. We had tornadoes here. You got the rest of what we had. Because of where you live, you're directly east of me. Needless to say, what I'm getting is manipulating energy for the greater good. Oh, wow. So are you getting anything else on that at all? Because they're talking about where to place it. They just said where to place it, where you could take the excess energy. Okay. What they're talking about is, I don't know if you work with the weather, but it feels like you work.
I know I work with elements big time.
There you go.
And they speak to me too. I actually have, I've had responses from my own communication that I'm having. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm in meditation or I'm just in a communication. I've actually had the weather has responded to me. It's
okay. Because
like extreme. So yeah, they talk to me this way a lot of times too.
Okay, so I don't know if this is gonna make sense to you, but here's what I'm very much getting is what you were doing is you were saying, wait a minute, this is too much up here. I'm taking, and this is why they're showing the lightning bolt. They just said disseminated, distributed. You distributed the lightning, the energy, and that's why they're showing the lightning bolt. And you're throwing it across. God, you're working across the earth, and you're shifting it to other parts of the earth. Okay, they just said high voltage. Remember, it doesn't translate into electricity on earth. Yeah. They're talking high voltage shift and change. Like is that, can you?
Are you seeing it? I'm seeing it like hitting ley lines.
Oh, that's it. Okay, because I'm like, why is it going to certain parts of the earth? I'm seeing the throwing like a javelin almost. You got a light.
I think I'm trying to like maybe wake up old grids. Is that what's going on?
Okay, crystalline.
Maybe I'm trying to recharge old crystalline, old grids that need to be just
crystalline
like jump started. Crystalline grid.
And what I'm picking up too is this is your javelin like this, but it's also, you know what, you're working, okay, whether it hits earth or not, well, we know lightning does, but I'm getting you working the electrical grid at the top, like that crystalline part. Oh, the crystalline part of the grid that's being built. Does that make sense? Like you're redistributing energy throughout the new grid, which we caught. Remember last time I told you, I said something about, there's a new grid being built. Forget what that is, but there's a new gold, yellow, white light grid. The old one's falling apart. And this is it. This is what you're redistributing around it, working that grid, which then affects the earth by the lightning bolt that hits the ground.
Well, I got it. I must be right in there with it, getting involved because it just took out my bun.
Oh, you did. You didn't care. I mean, it was like, oh yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
that makes sense. There's such an electrical. There is. I feel like I'm like wind, like the wind, the sun.
You know what? God. Okay, let me go ahead and keep going. I'm just going to keep talking while you're.
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
I want to share. I want to share this because I want to make this relevant to others, relevant to our viewers. what I'm very much picking up, and they're using you as an example. They said, oh, you have no idea how many of you are going to start doing more of this. And you already are, only now you're going to start becoming more aware in just glimpses of little things. Because, okay, they just said masters of the universe, masters, okay, of the new creation, masters of the earth, like masters of our new earth, right? So we're sitting here in human form thinking, you know, typically, okay, I'm in my house all day, what am I doing to help, kind of thing. Lots of us do, right? Oh, no, it's more about our higher self energy body. It's so interesting. And we play out here what we're meant to play out in the human form, but we are, oh God, they just said we're mastering the elements. And I don't mean as in human form working on I don't know, what's the, not in human form. My point is it's a larger perspective out there in the astral, working all the time on the new earth. Lots of us.
Yeah, I get the feeling, like I told you I told you about this, I felt it like it's not just, it wasn't just a small thing. I felt it in every cell of my body. I could almost taste it, even the amount of frequency and voltage, electrical frequency. But when I woke up the next day, I was like, it like saturated my cells, right? So it really came through me too. So it doesn't surprise me at all. That's what I was doing.
It's a metallic, I think you told me this, but I'm also getting this. And so hopefully it's a validation. It's a metallic taste, right? Like, did you feel like, I'm getting metal.
It's a very, very interesting kind of like maybe metal in your mouth kind of taste that you would get, right? So, but it's, you can feel it. It's like it's related to electricity or to a frequency like that, or high charge voltage frequency. Yes. Yeah.
You were redistributing that along grid like nobody's business. So your hair was worth it.
Well, that's gone. So I hope so.
Oh, wow.
The bang for our buck.
I know. Where do you want to go with this today? What do you want to, anything else come up recently that you want to talk about?
There's always so much going on. I don't know, but I did have a nice little confirmation that Creator One wanted to guest today, so their presence is here for our talk. So
who's here?
Creator One.
What does that mean? Who is that?
Infinite Creator.
Well, Creator One. You said Creator.
The energy of Creator.
Okay, because people don't necessarily know what we're talking about. So
so I thought that was nice. I'm like, okay, well, we're ready. So we're ready for questions, but I just, I'm trying to think, what else do we really want to know? Because now's the time to ask.
Yeah. Well, I do know, just maybe this is going to take us somewhere because they're bringing this in. I do know and I know in my channelings for the monthly energy updates, it keeps showing an incline in energetics. Okay. And they always talk like we're reaching a precipice, and spring's a big time for that. And so what they're talking about is over the next 3 months, I got a lot of energy, the greater of the splitting apart. And we're going to be in this, or they just said imbalance of, okay, they're showing us like each individual here, the two sides, right? What you want to see and what you don't want to see, right? Or actually the left is usually what you don't want to see for me, and what you do want to see. And we're here, and it's the move toward what we want to see. They just said, make sure to turn in that direction. So it's hard right now because of what's going on globally. If you want to stick your head in the sand, it's kind of hard, right? It's kind of hard because you can't avoid it completely. Well, that doesn't mean we're supposed to, but we're supposed to still choose that path of what we want to see. There's still, it's very much, okay, they just said choice points are coming up.
Yes.
There are, astrologically, it's accurate too. Choice points are very much coming up, especially I think this week is a big time of choice points. Wow, they never use choice points. With respect to launching forward into the true Aquarian age, the trueness of it starting now. And we saw that coming in the energy updates. But anyway, maybe we can play off some of that. I don't know. They're really talking about what's coming up here.
Yeah, I like that idea because that's so true. I mean, just in general, just having your focus on what you would like to see.
Yep.
I think that's just a good overall general thing to always have anyway. But I think especially right now, having your energy focused into that area is going to make a big, in the background though, the background energies, the things that are going on kind of, I always feel like it's a background, but it's like galactically, cosmically that are affecting this. I feel like that is the primary thing too, but I feel like they keep discovering things like, as we continue to ascend, it's like all of these hidden treasures keep showing up that they didn't necessarily know about.
Okay,
So we're like
let me stop you real quick and add what you just said, because it ties to it. It says many more, meaning humans, individuals, many more will move into their strengths. So to your point, finding what you just said, I know you're talking about something different, but finding those, what did you call it? The
treasures, like little hidden treasure almost, it's like an uncovering as we're doing this work. So even though we kind of have a mind of like where we think we're going, I feel like I keep kind of getting this, like as we're going, we're like, oh my God, look, that's an option now too. And we didn't even know, right? Yep. So I think that it's changing, it's fluid, or even things that we thought were gone and we'd never see them again are reappearing, or things that we didn't know were part of it. I think it's really, as we're ascending, we're kind of in a state of, as we kind of, they say everything's in divine plan and we already know what's going to happen. Yes, in a way, but I think that there is a lot of discovery, even on the levels where they say, oh, we already see what's going to happen. We are living, your future of what is going to happen, right? Kind of thing. I think that that's even getting shaken up a little bit. I think that there's even stuff coming into that in the future us didn't know about, right?
And this is where, and they're bringing this back in, where I think we talked last time, or I don't know if it was my energy update, but they talked about all these timelines showing up, like, and they keep talking about choice points. So because we can choose where we're going to go, right? But all these choice points, and they keep showing these timelines. So I
wonder what that means. The different choice points what exactly, what we're going to do, how we're going to ascend, what we're going to do after this or during this, or I'm wondering what they mean.
What they're showing me is ascension is individual and it's collective. Okay. So they're talking about individual choice points. Okay. So for example, we could choose right now to go, it'd be very easy particularly for empathic people, to go drown themselves in the news and the suffering and all of just what we don't want to see. And you can argue it's been going on in many other places for a long time, but now this is really in our face, right? Needless to say, they just said that would dim your light. So you have choice points to be able to go, okay, wait, I don't want to go live in what I don't want, but you can see how you get pulled into that. I want to live in what I do want. And it's important now, what they're saying is because things are getting pulled more and more apart and the stress and strain is greater and greater. It's more important now to pick you have choice points, but which are you going to choose moving forward? Staying in that what you do want to see.
Yeah. Interesting, huh?
Yep, it is. It's an interesting time. But the thing is, what I'm very much getting though, during all of this is the elevation to it's like a quickening. They just said, we're going to have a quickening here in the next few months of higher dimensional frequencies coming in and us being able to move into them, because we've already got the momentum. Remember, we talked about how we've got that momentum and we can't stop it now, but we still have to make the right choices in our journey. But we're being accelerated by everything that's around us that is assisting us in this journey, which is the energies from, I'll just say, the cosmos, right?
Yes. I do feel like that has to, personally, like when we're talking about what is next, my heart is like, it's going to have to be something big. I mean, I feel it's you know what I mean? Because it's, I don't know. It's like, what that's the only thing left to happen, right? That's what it feels like to me. The only thing that can come out, like that's left with all of this that I'm feeling, is a jump, right? So I don't know how to explain that other than it's just
No, it's a big
intuitively
jump. I agree.
like.
Okay, they just said a big jump in consciousness. So conscious awareness. Okay, they're talking about in the collective. See, this is 2022, but spring is like the launching off of this. It's just, it's as though, and I think I've said this before, I don't know if this is for people's individual sessions, but in general, the collective, we're not going to recognize ourselves at the end of the year.
Yeah, I would say that would be in line with what I feel. That there is such a quickening. There's so much happening. There's just the energies of larger, like cosmic energies, galactic energies, just things that are like pressing on us now as we're feeling. I feel like that is the only outcome, right? Is just,
you know why?
Huge transformation.
Yes. You know what they're saying to me? They're showing me this visuals. They said, well, that's because those energies are more available to you now because of the work that's been done. With there more of it. So as we increase in frequency and dimension, like those energies that live in that space that will accelerate us and assist us are available to us. Yes. And they're showing how in many ways, some of that, there's been the barrier from being in the really heavy 3D to the higher energies. They can't get here until we come to them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. And so now, I just heard meeting of the minds. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And so they're just saying it's more available to us. And that it's like a tether. Now it's pulling on us. It's able to connect in with us because we've come and now it's doing this kind of thing. Does that resonate?
It does. Yeah. That's so funny too, because I feel like, last time we talked about a little bit of like kind of where a lot of us felt disconnected and kind of, I don't know, just weird. So you say tether, and I felt like, okay, we're not as available to each other as we once were. Just exactly what you said. I felt something's not quite right here. I don't really understand it. More's come in about it. But so in that space, I thought, okay, there's tethers, there's connection points and stuff. And I'm always, my mind's always going with stuff. So I said, you know what? I don't know what's happened to the tether. I don't know if I had a line or something. I think I disconnected or whatever. But I know that ether runs through everything that is, right? So I said, well, what I'd like to do is my body's connected, ether's connected, innate's connected to me and connected to the ether. Ether's connected to everything. And so I said, I need to communicate with my people through ether, regardless of whether a tether got stuck here or got clipped there or, any of this stuff. So I'm going to say, bypass that system that's vulnerable to some form of interference and bring in the cosmos into my body, utilize the way that they all are interlocked and change the infinite, all that is, and utilize that now. I cannot be disconnected. And whether I just needed to say that for my own psyche so I could do it, or if I created it for myself so I cannot be disconnected in any kind of way, it did make a huge difference for me. All of a sudden I could start, wait a minute, now it was almost like I made a pathway. I made a pathway to reconnect to. I think I might have gone from, can you hear me now? That commercial, like you can barely, to like all of a sudden, everybody's on the call now.
Right. Well, and that's your example is a perfect individual example of what I just said with the collective, which is that what I was saying, we're coming closer to being able to access that energy. So when you said the word ether, they said that ether is, and take this for what it's worth, they said ether is living energy.
Yes. Isn't that interesting? My understanding is ether is the energy that runs through all that is. It's the light. It's the life force. It's it's kind of what holds everything together. Is in everything. It also is connected to everything. Like things can't exist without it. It's like they call it sometimes the fifth element, or sometimes they just call it love.
Yes. Yep, it runs through
So
everything. It does. Absolutely. Mhm. I not necessarily to take us off of this, but this keeps coming back. What you
sure.
said earlier, that you said creator energy is here, or
Mhm,
creator one. Could
mhm.
we, I mean, if they're there, what do
Yeah,
we,
they're
do we want
definitely
to, do we want to
totally
connect
coming
with?
through my, I can feel them pressing on my back and coming through the front of my,
Can
right
we
there,
talk?
right there.
Can we talk to them, or can we
Yes, yes.
interact, or how do you want to, how do you want to do this? Like,
Well, they're here, ready to, speaking. I can feel whenever anybody's here, wanting to or connected into the conversation, and they like I said, they volunteered they wanted to be the guest today with me.
okay.
So
Okay, so just for our audience's purpose, if we can answer this, you said this earlier, but I don't remember what you said. Creator one is,
creator one would be the representation of, how we're all here as creators, creator beings. Our highest unified field creator energy would be creator one.
okay, good. All right, fantastic. Do you,
Um,
how do you get information from them? Do they want to talk to you? I don't know if you get like just words, or do you get a sense of anything they want to discuss today or do with us if you're here?
Not at the moment, but
Okay.
but I'll now that you've said that, because they're sitting right through me. They're
Okay.
telling me to relax so I can relax,
Okay.
so it can come through of me. But yes, I can feel right there, and I can also feel my throat chakra starts activating when they're wanting to channel.
Oh, good.
So,
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I just thought that was interesting that you said that in the beginning. I'm like, oh, how could we make use of that
yeah.
visitation? So
When it'll start flowing here in a second if I
that's fine.
calm down and get in the flow probably.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I didn't know exactly what topic. Like I said, there's so many, but my mind is staying like kind of open right now, and it's not like focusing in on any one particular thing.
Right.
But I don't know. Let me think here for a second.
Well, and okay, so I'm just going to go with this. So creator one,
yes,
what I'm getting a sense of,
they're very strong.
they're talking about, I don't know if this is them, this is just what I'm getting information. Is there
Mhm.
something connected to the reason creator one, the creator energy is showing up this way is because because that's where we are collectively to be able to access this kind of energy. In the past, it was kind of like, oh, we're creators. Oh, not anymore. We know we are. Okay. And now we're able to access that kind of energy that you have surrounding you right now to be able to, okay, they just said utilize in its fullness, like making that connection into who we really are. And then
Yes,
creating out from that in what we see today collectively, but doing it individually first. I don't know if that's making any sense, but
yes. Oh yeah, it is. It's
it's available to us now is what I'm getting. They showed up because they're saying we're available to you now. We're
yes,
available to you now to access. Every single one of you, particularly light
Mhm.
workers, who understand this can access okay, they're talking about original creation energy. I think this is part of why they showed up, to help us access that is what I'm getting.
Well, this kind of goes back to, yes, I feel like it's the I keep talking about how, like with the earth thing that we talked about last time, and some of these energies that are like, yeah, oh yeah, well, these ones feel like the really, really ancient original, like the first one, right?
I just
Like,
heard pure. I just heard pure.
yes,
Pure form. Pure form.
pure form,
Oh, I'm
yes.
sweating. I'm in a huge sweat.
So this energy is like the one infinite creator, sometimes they call this, it is our energy. It is how we are creators. We are all, one, right? One, this is creator one.
Yes.
So, but yes, it's kind of that very, very, and like we talk about, from antiquity, sometimes we feel like it's that one that's just solid and huge and expansive. And just really, when you're sitting in the presence of it, you really feel like oh, there it is, right? There's no, it's just that it's like the foundational energy for for our origin. Like I said, it's a pure energy.
Okay.
It feels very strong. It feels very solid, very, foundational. It's like supportive.
Yes. And so what I'm getting out of
Mhm.
this is everyone
Mhm.
should, as they feel it, ask
Mhm.
for that connection back
Yeah.
to the original creator energy. I think this is why they've shown up today. This is just
Mhm.
what I'm getting. If you get anything else, let me know. But
Yeah.
to all to access. So when we were talking about
Yeah.
this, they said to me, I got to read this, and I don't know if I can read my own writing, but they said to me, the sun, the moon, the stars, the wind, and they had a poem, but I can't read my writing, but like the fullness, the full expression of the universe and the cosmos, that's the kind of expansive creation that we have available to us. They're showing up, trying to help us understand that. Okay, they keep talking about coming back to the original creator source.
Yes. Yes. They're also, I don't know if you remember in our sessions, actually, they were kind of reiterating to me about getting, being on cameras, doing some things like this, and about the toning, even of the voice. They said the frequencies, the toning, will a lot of times will come through if you come through your eyes.
Yes.
Or a lot of times it's not necessarily even the words. They said that we'll wrap the frequency around the words. So words are really just the delivery system. That's what they're showing me now too. Like as the presence is here, is where you and I are discussing, it's coming through for everybody. So it's coming through to the collective, right?
And this is why it's important that it's there with you now, because we're on video. But what I wanted to make a point of is the reason. What's important now is you're in that energy. We're in that energy. It's coming through this video, which is accessible to everyone because that frequency has come through this video. All right.
That's right. Exactly right.
Yep. So
that's what they were trying to explain is it's not necessarily always the words that you're saying. It's the frequency that's wrapped around the words.
Exactly.
And the gaze, apparently, your eyes are really, they say, that they say windows to your soul and that kind of thing, but your eyes do emanate frequency, right?
And we're in that space.
Yes,
so
that's right.
Absolutely.
This is, yeah. Because it's like I don't know if do you feel a different type of energy? Can you kind of tell that this is a little different?
I don't have a tendency to feel different energy. I just go into this space that kind of I always live in. But when we do these videos, I have a heightened sense of that. So mine is not different energy I ever feel. I just feel maybe more expansive, I guess I'll just say. I am not one. There are a lot of people like you where you physically feel a shift and change in the energy. That's not me. I'm not as physically empathic. I get chills, and that's about as much as happens to me.
Well, I moved to a different space, but a lot of times when I feel somebody's energy come, I feel like this energy came through my back, through my chest, through my shoulders and my throat. So I can actually feel the energy.
You know why? Because you're projecting it out from the front into this video. That's what I'm getting. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, I can feel it. I can
projecting
feel
it through your heart space. Yep.
It's like the sun coming through my chest, through my back. Yeah.
Yep, I just heard radiating. Yep, this is very important. That's why they showed up, so that we could project this out and share this.
Yeah, it's beautiful energy. It's very expansive. It's unlimited. It's like I said, it's very foundational, solid. Like there's no guesswork.
Well, they just said
anything's possible, but there's no guesswork, right?
Yeah. They just said getting back to the core, getting back to the root, getting back to the origin story. They just said getting back to and again, they go back to the purity of that creator energy embodied in us, but it's being reactivated in us because we're here, right? We've been here 3D, and now we're doing this kind of thing. It's able to reactivate. It's able to reach us, is what they're saying.
Yes, that's right. To bring it into this, it's interesting too because it's not. It's the more this last few months, especially, I've realized just how much dimensionally is like us being here in a physical body, touching our feet to the planet is important, right?
It is. People don't understand that lots of times too.
And sometimes and then being able to make the connection and actually funnel that energy through your body.
Yes.
It sometimes it's not easy, you know, it's actually kind of it's a feat, especially if you're in kind of a heavily dense or, you know, something that's maybe really gone to the edges, you know, really went to test the edges of everything that is, you know, if you're out there, you know, that getting that bridge is a bit of a job, you know.
So what's interesting that ties to this, and I'm going to share two things. First is that I was given, you're talking about humans being, you know, important to being on the earth, our bodies on the earth. I was given a few years ago the fact that we're like selenite wands, we're crystalline, so that the energy that flows through us helps the earth. So I had another gal recently say to me, who I connected with, she said, well, you know, part of and she's actually Navajo, so she's got a lot of really kind of ancient wisdom, especially with the land. And she says, part of the reason the earth is so ill right now is and I had never considered this. She says, we used to, in the days of the indigenous people, there were no fences, there were no cities, there were no boundaries. There was just people moving, and that's why they would migrate. The migrations, they didn't consciously know this, well, they might have. Migrations would happen because they would move their energy around. Animals would move their energy around, so that there was always these like pinpoint selenite lightning rods all around movement. We don't do that anymore. We have walls, we have gates, we have fences. Animals don't move. Humans don't move. We're in pods in cities, which is dense energy. So I thought that ties to what you're saying, but it's really a part and parcel of why we're kind of where we are today, because
I think that's so interesting. Yes, it's so interesting you're saying that, because you think about it, animals, you know, animals follow magnetic lines of the earth for migration every year. And I think that people, when you were saying that we used to migrate more, I think that we
did.
We were more energetically connected to this planet, kind of like they flashed that movie Avatar, you know, they'd sit on the ground and the roots and everything. We were more connected to the planet in the sense that they would migrate with purpose, like the energy, they would follow the energy, or it was a communication with the planet where they would be going, right?
Because now so many of us are you know, massively condensed in cities, that energy doesn't get distributed. It's all right there, and it can be pretty heavy energy, right? Like, because we're living we're working day to day in offices, we're not outdoors as much, so there's a huge earth effect because of that. Immobility, is that a word?
Yes.
Immobility. And if you think, I mean, it just makes so much sense. And fences and gates and property lines and cities and walls and
isn't that funny that that's what's happening? Have you noticed this big like wanderlust, or this new kind of trend that's hitting? Everybody's kind of getting little mini houses, or that they could pull on a trailer and they could plop it somewhere for a while and they could change their mind and move it. Or getting an RV, like some of these everybody's doing this now.
And that's tied to this. I'm glad you brought that up. That's tied to this, because what is important, and I actually know a few people that what they do for their spiritual journey, I mean, they have been very much guided in their awakening, is they travel to work the land. In fact, this one gal that I was just mentioning, she travels to work the land. But every trip you take is purposeful. And that's why after 2020, you know, the start of COVID and then everything, and then pretty soon in 2021, people just had to get out, right? Like they wanted to travel. And so travel picked up, but it's all purposeful. And what I'm also picking up tied to this is the idea of more freedom day to day, because more people are working from home, or they're working online. They can actually live in the van, live and travel. And it is a thing, but it's purposeful energetically. So it's a real interesting thing to see how, like I've always said, and I think I mentioned this in the last video, is our human activity that we see, that we just think is human activity, that's actually the vehicle for the spiritual part to happen. So it actually translates to, like, if you see this thing that is a human thing, like travel, because people more travel, it's actually a spiritual thing, because it can tie to, like we just said, that part is tied to, oh no, we're helping make the earth healthier
Yeah.
by the moving our energy around. So there's always the human piece of this. There's always it's the vehicle for the spiritual to happen.
I agree with you completely.
Anyway, I think that's just an interesting thought. So I think, for viewers, if they have an itch, a real drive to go somewhere, there's purpose in that, is what I will say.
It is. I think it's so important it's both ways too. I know I've had a drive to do it. I've really looked into road schooling for my kids, being able to work from, I could do everything I do from the road very easily. And I know a lot of my friends that are doing it. Some people, that is how they actually are making their money. They are road schooling and they're blogging about it, and their blog pays for their stuff. I mean, so it's all tied up in a little bow for them, the whole, and it's just really amazing. They're showing other people how to do the same thing, and that's how they're actually making their income. So, I find it to be a great idea. I think that the planet benefits greatly from it too. Because I think our communication with the planet is very important. In a lot, laying our back on the ground somewhere and just being, just like now we're expressing energy. It's a two-way. Whenever I do specific types of meditations, a lot of times I would guide myself through it, but a lot of times it would just start happening and I would be sitting in meditation and I would just have to look around and figure out what was going on.
Yep.
But I would ground, and then usually I would see one run up one side, and then it would connect into what I believe was the galactic core. And I would feel another one then start coming back down this way. So I'd have one going up and one coming down. So it was a two-way communication through my body, from the core of the planet to the galactic core. One running one way and one running this way. So they were talking to each other through me, right? And I think that happens. That is like, it's primary. It's like one of the primary things that we're doing here when we ground in and connect. We are that communication system for it to, for this to go down here, for the codes and things to get in and communication to go on.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to add to that, because what they're showing me when you're talking about this, and this ties directly to information I get, is they always show this tethering. And when I do my energy healing work, we always tether to the top and we tether to the ground. Okay.
Yes.
So it's that tethering, it's that full connection, so that you're not, for example, always floating out in the ethers, because you're not going to be able to bring down that energy to then create in the fullness that you could. You may still be able to, but the point is it's the earth connection for the health of the earth as well, but it also is the creator energy, where we're connected to the I always call it the ethers, but the sky or the cosmos to the earth connection allows for, they keep talking about the greatest potential for creation. Does that resonate?
Oh, definitely. I think so too. And I think that when you expand or allow yourself to really reach, like, when you, for instance, if you are like waiting to connect, to keep going until you feel like you're there. Don't worry about like, what am I connecting to? How am I, what's their name? No, go until you feel like you're home.
Yes.
And then once you feel home, that's what you're going to connect and bring down. So you don't have to you don't have to have it all figured out. Feel your way through it. And then when that would happen, then I would expand. I would feel myself almost stretching to get these two connections through the correct way. So I was dimensionally including more. So I wasn't disconnecting from Earth, to get to a higher, I was, really expanding. And then once that would happen and that would really start flowing, then I would see it get really wide.
Yeah.
And by the end of my meditation, I'd be sitting in this massive pillar of energy coming up and coming back. So it gives you an idea that you don't have to disconnect from here to be in a higher realm where you enjoy the energy more.
Exactly.
You can be in both if you expand yourself and realize kind of how that exercise, like I said, they guided me through it. I really didn't do that on my own, but that's why it happened. But it made me realize you can be in a lot of places at one time. You don't have to pick one frequency or another. You can be fully,
Yes, exactly. And they're talking about how that's a really great practice to be able to understand gosh, this is so interesting to be able to understand kind of like the backstory or the beginning part of being or multidimensional, because we're going to be consciously multidimensional. Okay.
Yes.
That's where we're going. And so what they're talking about with that practice there is that practice of moving into those dimensions through like the meditative process or the, and accessing that higher realm energy. But they keep bringing it back to, we're getting bits and pieces and all the things we've talked about. And there's more, of course, but showing us what it's going to be like ultimately to be in the space of being human and multidimensional. This is what it's all coming down to. Does that resonate with what you're just talking about?
Oh yeah, no, it does. Absolutely. I'm actually flushed right now. I don't know if you can tell, like my face is red, but yes, it is a precursor to, but it gives you, even if you don't realize that's what you're doing, it is what you're doing. So it's like almost toning the body.
Yes.
And reminding the cells.
Yes, you said it better. Precursor. Yes, this is all much better than how I described it. Exactly.
So even if it doesn't come to your mind that, oh my God, that's what I'm doing, it's almost like it's conditioning your body to be in a place where it can do it comfortably, to remember, activating more, as it becomes more comfortable, more frequencies are going through, you're kind of waking things up, right? Reminding, maybe I haven't, these frequencies that maybe you haven't felt in a long time, or maybe they're so ancient you've never felt them even in this lifetime, but they're in your cellular memory, right?
Right.
So those come up.
Exactly. And we've had, think about everything we've carried with us, blocks. I hate to use the word blocks, but I just did. Things that keep us, like past life traumas, this life trauma, all the stuff we carry in us. That's why we do this work, to clear all of that out through inner child, past life, just the experiences we have with other people, on and on, to then be able to, like you just said, access those higher parts of us so that we don't have to, well, again, it's like flowing down the stream, but so as we're going on our journey to the higher dimensions, we have a clearer path. We're removing the gunk of that, and then it's a clearer, distinctive journey to the higher realms. And as we keep doing what we're doing in our awakening journey, which we're called to do, that pathway is going to become clearer, and that's how we get to ascension.
Yeah, they were showing me when you were saying that too, that as we're bringing these things up, a lot of us are doing this work, but they were showing us like you're doing it on crutches.
Yes.
When you're bringing in this light, that light is actually supposed to assist you with that other part. So you're not having to, because all that cellular memory, all that stuff is coming forward, but there is a cooperative process in bringing in this high light with the process of clearing, that doesn't make you feel like, like I said, you're doing it on crutches. You need to bring in this high light, and it's going to help you with that other stuff too that's coming out, right?
Exactly. And something just popped in that I want to share because it's tied to this is what I've started to do, and I have a really crazy example of this that just happened this last week, is when I go to bed at night, I say to my team with my head on the pillow, I'm like, okay, guys, anything for my highest good or the collective's highest good that I need to be involved with, shift and change me in the night. Well, so that goes to what you're talking about. Like, make that intention, give them the freedom to, with your team, to be able to make that shift and change. I have found that to be really powerful. The other night, when I went to do this, just before I laid my head on the pillow, because I was going through some personal stuff, clearing past lives, just a lot of, and current life. I mean, it's all wrapped into one. But anyway, I was kind of like, ugh, I don't want to do this part of this journey anymore. I got to make a decision. Blah, blah, blah. I hear, as I'm getting ready to go to bed, as I'm like getting ready to watch my movie, I hear, we're going to recalibrate you tonight so the human stays in the game. I heard it over and over like 3 times, meaning because I was ready to jump ship on this part a little bit. But it was all me. It was just my stuff I was dealing with. But I was ready to I was planning, like, how do I decide to not do this anymore and then move on and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
They're like, no, we're going to recap. I woke up the next day. I kind of forgot about it. Woke up the next day. I am different. I mean, I've been different since then. And this is like 3 days ago. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's like, so I would just say
Agreed.
to the audience that a really wonderful thing, I've seen this happen more than once for myself, is to give your team free reign to do what is for your highest good, as well as for the collective's highest good. However you want to phrase that. I don't know. That just popped in as you were talking about that.
No, that's perfect, because I was just recently talking about this too, that how important it is to go to sleep in the right frequency with the right intentions, because it will direct where you end up there, right? Because you've got a plethora of options.
Yes.
And where you vibrate, also kind of keeps you where you end, where you kind of, when you go to sleep, you're in astral again, kind of where you should show up there. So it's perfect. Exactly what you said. If you have the intention, a lot of times I used to do this and it was wonderful. I need to do it more. I've been doing it more now. I created a higher dimensional, like a pyramid of light, where I would go for rejuvenation, healing, whatever I needed for my, and I would say, I want to go to the, dimensional level that is the most appropriate for whatever. And I remember, and I met many of my guides this way. And I remember having conversations with them, but most of the time I was receiving some form of very, very high light activations, healings for my body. But I was also having really nice conversations with several of what I believe to like different galactic family. Like I have a connection to tall whites. I remember meeting one and having conversations with her often. Different types of, and they're very high vibrational, not necessarily so much entrenched in kind of what's going on 3D. They're more like, they say that's more like your team, like the boots on the ground. But when I was in that energy, I remember having this very beautiful experience with different beings. So, here we're saying, some of us have come back with chipped teeth, and there are, you can pick kind of what you want. And then I would say, I want to remember when I come back. So I'm kind of at that point, I was kind of breaking myself in to have recall of my astral travels, my night journeys, that kind of, when I would wake up here, so I could start understanding more about what I was doing.
Yes.
And that was a very pleasant way to break myself in, right?
Yes. And so what they're saying to me is, and this is so interesting as you're talking, they're saying that we are now starting to be in a space where we can access all of this more, and we should start doing that. In other words, having those conversations, not worrying about, oh, I'm just human, I can't do this. We're done with that. We're going past we know now. We know who we are. We, particularly the first waivers, we know who we are. We've been doing the work. We're starting to make the connections. So make the connections. Do the human part of that. Do the intentional work to talk to whomever, or make the connection at night, all those things, because we can. And we're at that stage now where we're not infants anymore. We're not going, we're not infants.
They were saying, like, when you're talking, they said the options are limitless.
Yes.
You can create the experience, any experience you want, the way you want it to happen.
Yes.
You're not limited to knowing how to do something or the other. If you want it, create it, and it will happen for you.
Right. So it's kind of like what they're saying is, okay, so we're past the doubting, wondering who we are, blah, blah, blah stage. Okay. For a lot of us that are frontliners, right? Now it's like, okay, don't just sit there, take action and make those connections to get that creation going, and do the visualization, do all that. Like, this is what I'm doing now. I'm in my power, and start utilizing that connection.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree with that. I love it.
Oh, and you know what I'm getting as a wrap up to this, and you can add to this, but that creator one energy, like flowing through you, allow this conversation to happen, but the message, the main message that I'm picking up is that, okay, they just said embody it. They're talking about everybody. Okay, everybody's watching. Embody this creator one energy, because here we are moving into this new space of creation. That's what the Aquarian age energies are that we're moving into. It's we create whatever we want. So we're quickly moving into that here in 2022, and we're starting to see that. So now it's about, okay, take it and use it and do it, because you can, and you know you, but that's the creator one energy has come through. I can just feel as we're wrapping up here, it's all about making use of who we truly are. You know what?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just going to go out on a limb here. This energy, because I can feel it coming through you as we've talked. I can feel like, I feel you very stable today. Like this is not that you're not stable, but energetically stable. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's just coming through you to offer that message to people, to offer that energy to people, to be able to actually move into that next phase of creation.
Yes, yes. And it really, it's a, like I said this at the beginning, it's a very strong, very supportive, foundational, but incredibly limitless.
Yep.
So it's amazing. Yes.
This
I'm
is so
just
cool.
kind of hanging on by my fingernails to hold it right now, because it's really strong right now.
Yep. This is pretty cool, because it's a little different than our other videos, even though I know we offer energy in our other videos, but this is very, it feels very direct. Does that make sense?
This energy was very intentional today.
Oh yeah, very like you'll cord right into it. Okay, there you go. There's the video for today. I don't have much to talk about because I talked about it in the beginning, but I do want to leave you with my services, purplerainhealing.com. Check out all my channeling services where I work with you personally, one-on-one, to help you understand your soul journey, as well as get you relevant information for your present day. I will also receive past information, and I'll receive future information. Again, this is for you to consider. And like I always say, take the pieces that resonate for you on your journey forward. And as I work with you more and more, we really build out that journey and that story for it, help you understand what's going on presently in your awakening, ascension journey, or just your life journey in general, and moving forward down your pathway. So I would love to work with you. I've worked with so many of you. Check out purplerainhealing.com for all of my services. And thank you again so much for joining me in this video. I will see you in the next one.